Hold on a second. So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. As usual, we will be discussing Indian Express newspaper and some important article from our exam point of view, and then we will be moving to the practice question. Okay. So as you know that we have given you one question for your to practice and reply in the comment box. I have seen that, and most of you have given the right answers. So we will see the answer of that particular question first. Okay. So we'll start with that particular question and then we'll see these three important articles, that growing tally, rising turnout. Here you can see there is one article on the front page which is given here. It is talking about participation of women in the electoral process. Okay. So since recently there are many schemes, there are many initiatives which has been taken by the governments of many states as well as the central government, and these all initiatives are for the woman empowerment. And when we are talking about the political inclusion, or you can say in the socio-economic terms, socio-political terms, when we are talking about the inclusion, the participation in the electoral process becomes a very important part of it. Okay, so we will see the trends in the last few elections, how women has performed on that. So that is one article. And then Congress's Nari Nyaya promise. So obviously when election year is there, so various political party commit some things to you, some schemes to you. They will say that if they come to power, they will start their own schemes. Okay, so one of them is Nari Nyaya program. So we will be talking about that, what this promise hold, and will it be feasible, financially feasible for them to carry it out. Okay. Afterwards, world's first AI law. Okay, when we are talking about the regulation of artificial intelligence, there is only one particular area of the world which they have legislated on this, and probably they have got the nod, and probably they will be enacting it in the next few months. Okay, so we will be talking about these important articles. Then around the world we will see one or two news from that, and then we'll move to the practice questions. Okay, so let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the last lecture. Which of the following bodies of water borders Cyprus to the south? So basically they are talking about Cyprus, that is an island nation in the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so when we are talking about the location of the Cyprus here, they are saying that in the southern part, which water body is basically bounding it. When we are talking about Cyprus or any island body, as a matter of fact, most of the time you will see that one particular body has the boundary with every side of that particular island. Okay, so when we are talking about the southern part here, you can say that Mediterranean Sea is the water body which is forming that particular boundary. That is option C will be your right answer. Okay, now coming to the today's lecture, today's discussion, the first article which we will be discussing today is related to your participation of women in the electoral poll process. So let's see. Growing tally, rising turnout, more and more women stepping out to vote. Basically, so there is a clear indication that the percentage of the women who are taking part in the electoral process is increasing. Okay, that is a good sign. Now here you can see there are certain initiatives. Okay, sorry. There are certain initiatives which has been taken by the government. Okay, so be it the women's reservation bill, or you can say any kind of financial you can say assistance which was given. Here you can see women's reservation bill passed by the BJP led government at the center, and AAP, that Aam Aadmi Party's promise of ₹1,000 a month, and Congress proposed allowance of rupees 1 lakh per annum. That particular allowance what they have proposed is related to your Nari Nyaya program, which we will be talking in the next slides. Okay, so they have promised something. They have given allowances of ₹1,000, and BJP led central government has given a reservation to women, though that is not in this 2024 election, it won't be feasible. Okay, but the thing is that there would be an election 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha as well as the state assemblies. Okay, so such steps has given a way for women to come out and participate, because there are certain interests which are being taken care of. Okay, otherwise also if we see there are various schemes like Ujjwala Yojana. When we are talking about Ujjwala, you will see how it is linked to the political process. Again, you will see that if a woman has to spend less time going for getting the cooking fuel outside in the woods, then she can have some extra time where she can go and vote. Okay, Other than that also, it is basically about the you can say empowerment of the women, or the awareness these programs are generating. Okay, then we have this Lakpati Didi, okay, and then there was this program related to drone Sakhi. So all these things are basically leading to the empowerment of the woman, awareness generation among the women. They know their potential, they are realizing their potential, and again with all these things they are going to take participation in the political process, because obviously if they are economically secure, if they have this let's say we have self-help group of the women, okay, so if they are economically secure, they can go into the political sphere. Okay, so considering all these things which are interrelated, so such schemes by the government has led to increase in the participation of women. Okay, so here again, political parties have been pushing key legislative and development measures targeting women voters. Okay, so ultimately you know that they are nearly 46%. When we are talking about the women voters which are enrolled, there are nearly 46%, or they have increased to 48% share of voters, that increased to 48% in 2019. Okay, so basically that is almost 50% of the population, or 50% of the voters. So obviously that is a huge target audience for political parties. Okay, so coming to the data here, you can see when we are talking about the share of women in voters. Okay, let's say there are total 100 voters in the country. So when we are talking about this, or we can say that let's say there are 100 crore voters. So right now there are nearly 48.15 crore women which are basically forming the share in the voters. Okay, so you know that electoral rolls are prepared on which every voter is enlisted. Okay, so if we consider that, we can say that 48% of the electoral roll people are basically women. Okay, earlier in 2009 it was 45%. So we have seen that there is an increase of 3% nearly. Okay, afterwards turnout, when we are talking about the electoral process, as a matter of fact, how many of these voters who are enrolled in the electoral roll, they come and give the vote, that is turnout. Okay, so when we are talking about the percentage turnout with respect to women, in 2009 it was 55% or 56% nearly, and which has increased to 67% in 2019, which is a huge a leap forward. So we can say that that is also progressive in when we are talking about the political participation. Then number of seats where women voters outnumbered men. The number of seats where women voters have actually won the seat and outnumbering their corresponding you can say candidates over there. Okay, so earlier in 2009 it was 64%, or you can say 64 seats basically, and number of seats they are talking about 64 seats, and then when we are talking about 2019 it is 143 seats. Okay, so there is also, you can say, nearly more than doubled in number, so that is also a good sign. Then when we are talking about the seats with more men on poll rolls but more women voted, so basically they are talking about an area where number of voters of male are basically more than women, but when we are talking about the turnout, that was more for the woman here. Okay, so earlier it was 11%, and then now it was nearly 58%. So in all these aspects we have seen that women's participation has increased. You don't have to remember all these data. I would suggest that just remember these two data. First is now share of voters when we are talking about, so women's share is nearly 48%. When we are talking about turnout, nearly 67.18 women are basically turning out for the polling. Okay, now when we are talking about 2014's elections, so it is anticipated that nearly 47.15 crore women will be voting this time. Okay, so that is a huge chunk. Now number of indicators from the share of women in the total electorate to their voter turnout point to their rising participation in the electoral process. This line you can directly copy in your mains answer writing. Okay, this line you can directly copy. If you don't remember the number, you can directly copy it. If you remember the number, please pull out the chart over there. Okay, now also in increasing the number of parliamentary constituency where women outnumbered men among voters and electors. Okay, so that we have discussed in this vote. What is particularly noteworthy is increasing number of constituencies where women voters turnout exceeded that of men despite their lower overall number on the electoral roll. So basically they are talking about this particular thing. Earlier they were talking about this. Okay, so ultimately we have covered all the data. I would suggest that these two data are basically important for you, so keep a tab on that, remember that. Okay, so coming to the next article now. Now financial implications of Congress Nari Nyay promise. Okay, hold on. So, as I told you, when there is an election year, you will see that many political parties or even independent candidate, they make some kind of promises to, they come up with their own manifesto where they are basically jotting down their commitments. Okay, so Congress has also given their manifesto, Congress has also made some promises, and there are some 4 to 5 promises which are basically you can say having some kind of significance. Okay, I am discussing this particular article because we don't know which party will come into power, whether these schemes will be started or not. That is another issue. But the thing is, such things you can use as a way forward. But the thing is, first we have to check whether they are financially viable or not. Okay, so when we are talking about these promises, so we will see the financial implications of these promises. Okay, so let's come to the article. Congress in their 2019 election year also, they have come up with certain schemes, or you can say this Nyay program. Okay, so now they have enhanced it to another level, but the thing is, they have started this minimum income support program, or they have came up with the idea of minimum income support program. They have called it as Nyuntam Aay Yojana, that is basically Nyay, Nyuntam Aay Yojana. Okay, so basically you can say that they are trying to give you some kind of basic income. Okay, you can say. So if voted to power, they will start this particular scheme. This included a cash transfer of rupees 72,000 a year. Okay, so every year they will be sending you rupees 72,000. Okay, to the 20% of the poor sections. Okay, so when we are talking about the poverty in India, we know that this number has been declared by various institutions. Multidimensional poverty index is there by Niti Aayog. Okay, and then World Bank also give their insights on that. So considering on all those numbers, whoever are the lowest 20% of the strata, or who are the poor of the poor, they will give 20% of such families 72,000 rupees per year. Okay, so that was a plan. Now when we are talking about this particular estimate, that is nearly 72,000 rupees per year, and nearly there are some 5 crore households which we can say that they are forming the 20% of the poor households. This number leads to somewhere around 3,60,000 crores. Okay, so here you can say 3,60,000 crore, that is basically 2% of the Indian GDP. Okay, so that is one part. Okay, afterwards they have also come up with another scheme, that is Mahalakshmi. Okay, so they have announced Mahalakshmi in this year's poll campaign, and they have said that it will involve transferring of rupees 1 lakh every year to a woman from the poor family. Now they are saying that to a woman from the poor family. As I told you, these women are now huge target audience. So that is why every political party is trying to appease them. They are trying to give them some kind of benefits. Okay, no doubt that can be justified because of the state of the woman in this country. So we can say that if we are talking about the poor strata here, if they are giving any kind of financial support to a woman, that is not a problem. But the thing is that viable or not? And now they have said that to a poor family. They did not mention the number of the families. In the earlier scheme, they have said that 20% of the strata. Okay, here they did not mention the you can say this particular number to whom they will be providing this particular aid. Okay, now when we are talking about, let's say assume, if we talk about the Niti Aayog's data, Niti Aayog's multidimensional poverty index says that poverty in India is nearly around 11%. Okay, so we think that if overall, if we are going round figure 10% also, if they are providing this particular figure to 10% of the people, so there are nearly 14 crore families. Okay, there are 14 crore families which will be eligible for that. Okay, so that ultimately will lead to nearly some 2.8 crore women, and that would be 2.8 lakh crore rupees. That kind of investment would it required for the you can say this particular scheme. Okay, so 2.8 lakh crore, that is 0.8% of the GDP. Earlier that was nearly 2%, it is 0.8% of the GDP. And then when we are talking about if we consider the other data, or you can say recently we have come up with the consumption expenditure report, and that says that there is a poverty nearly 5% only, and based on that also it will come to 0.4%. of the GDP. Okay, so that is the kind of cost which we are looking at. These are the two major schemes which are saying that nearly 2.5 to 2.8% of the GDP will be spent on these particular programs. Okay, now the third program is basically half of all government vacancies would be reserved for the women. Okay, so now we don't know what kind of cost it will incur, but because there are already existing vacancies, and then third promise is to double the central government's contribution to monthly salary of ASHA, Anganwadi, women involved in preparing midday meal. So there are 3 to 4 categories of women like ASHA workers, then Anganwadi workers, then we have women which are involved in the midday meal scheme. Okay, so they are saying that they will double the contribution of the central government in their salary. Okay, so what kind of expenditure that will incur, that depends on the salary of these workers. That is not very much, that is nearly 4,000, 3,000, 1,000, but the thing is that particular expenditure will not be very much. Okay, then the fourth promise is appointing legal counselor for women's right, Adhikar Maitri, in every panchayat. So basically they will appoint a legal counselor for women's right. Okay, so now that particular scheme, we cannot assume or we cannot estimate the cost of this particular scheme, because we don't know how many counselors they will appoint and how many panchayat they are targeting. They are targeting a group of panchayat, or what, in what manner that will come, we don't know. So that is difficult to estimate. Then the fifth promise is that building workings hostel, working women's hostel in each district. So basically again they are saying that they will build hostels for women in every district. Again, we don't know how much expenditure they will incur. Other than that also we don't know how this particular hostels will be working. Either they will be working on their own, or they will charge a nominal fee from the woman living there. So that is not yet in the public domain, but these are 4 to 5 promises which has made, which Congress has made in the recent time, considering the polls. Okay, so this particular thing, that building working women's hostel, that is a progressive idea which can be done. Okay, appointing legal counselor for women's right in every panchayat, that is also a good idea. Okay, other than that, when we are talking about the doubling the central government's contribution, that is also a good idea. Now these things you can use in your conclusions, in your way ahead, in your answer writings. Okay, now coming to the next article. European lawmakers give final approval to the world's first AI law. Earlier we must have discussed that European Union. Okay, so European Union is trying to come up with a first AI law. When we are talking about artificial intelligence, it is difficult to regulate it, because it is a technology which is growing at a very fast pace. Okay, so if we are trying it, earlier when we are talking about this particular law only, they wanted it to be a customer centric or the consumer centric, but when they realized that it is growing at a faster pace, they have to adopt new provisions. They have to make sure that these particular changes are being taken care of. Okay, so basically it is moving at a very fast pace. Such technical knowledge should be there to the lawmakers as well, because obviously if you want to make a law on something, you should have the technical expertise on that. Okay, so that is why it is become it is kind of difficult for a country, or let's say a developing country, to go for a law making like that. Okay, let's say when we are talking about the African continent, and there are certain countries which are also facing these things, AI generated tools are there. Now these countries cannot make a potential law for all these AI tools, because they do not have this expertise in that. But once you have a law, let's say European Union come up with a law, that law can be used as a model law as well. Okay, so even India is trying to legislate AI tools. Okay, so in the future we will be seeing that we will take reference from such laws as well. So let's talk about this particular law. European Union lawmakers gave final approval to the bloc's artificial intelligence law on Wednesday. Okay, putting the world's leading rule on track to take effect later this year. Okay, so we are saying that they have approved this particular law, and there are high chances that will be in effect later this year. Okay, the AI Act is expected to act as a global signpost for the other governments grappling with how to regulate the fast developing technology. So as I told you, that will act as a model law for the other governments or the other nations which are trying to come up with a similar legislations. The AI Act has nudged the future of AI in a human centric direction. So basically they are saying that such laws or these development of AI should be human centric. Okay, so when we are talking about human centric, what we mean is that human will be at the center of that particular regulation, that particular technology. Okay, so human will be the one who will be the controlling the technology and not the otherwise. Okay, if everything, if AI, when we are talking about the evolution and when we see that AI tools are performing even the emotional task nowadays, so whether it would be a threat to human race or not. Okay, so there are questions like that, there are positives, there are negatives, but we can say that if there is a law which is making it as human centric, we can say that we can have the control of that particular technology. Okay, so aim, or you can say objective of this particular law is to make sure that that technology remains human centric and human are in the control of that particular technology. Okay, in a direction where humans are in control of the technology, where it helps us leverage new discoveries, economic growth, societal progresses, and unlock human potential. So basically we are saying that there should be a positive role of AI, there should be a positive role or positive aid which AI can provide in the economic process, societal roles, etc. But the thing is, all over this technology should be controlled by the human itself. Okay, big technologies, big tech companies globally, if we see, let's say Facebook, Google, etc., or other than that, when we are talking about OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc. So these companies, they are in favor of going for legislations, but they are kind of inclined that these laws should be in their own favor. Okay, obviously these are capitalist, or you can say if I have a business, I would want that any law should not harm my business. Okay, so these big technological companies generally have supported the need to regulate AI while lobbying to ensure that any rule work in their favor. Okay, now AI Act was initially intended to act as a consumer safety legislation, okay, taking a risk based approach. Risk based approach here means that if there is a technology which is more risk posing, then that should be banned, and if moderate risk is there, there should be a check and balance, and if there is a low risk, that can be in the public domain. Okay, so these are the risk based approach. Initially we thought that we should be consumer safety, it should be consumer safety legislation, but then again they are saying that there should be certain extra legislations because it is growing at a very fast pace. The vast majority of AI systems are expected to be low risk. Earlier we know that the initial, when it was in the initial phase, and as of now it is in the initial phase itself. So we can say that vast of the programs or vast services which AI tools can provide, which are basically of low risk, and that can be used by let's say people like spam filters, or you can say any kind of connection systems, etc. Okay, now companies can choose to follow voluntary requirements and code of conduct. When there is a low risk, company can on their own go for a code of conduct. Okay, so you can say that that can be self regulatory. Okay, then high risk uses of AI, there are certain medical field, or you can say surveillance field, or security and defense related fields, there is a high risk attached to it, and in that cases we can go for more scrutiny, more check and balances. High risk uses of AI, medical devices or critical infrastructures like water, electrical networks face requirements like using high quality data and providing clear information to user. All these things would be would come up with some kind of check and balance. Some AI uses are banned because they are deemed to pose unacceptable risk. Okay, so some of them are basically banned. We will see which of them. So as I told you, if the risk is increasing, risk is more, the benefit is outweighed by the risk, so we can go for banning of such AI tools as well. So here you can say social scoring system that governs how people behave. Okay, if there is a system, if there is an algorithm which is controlling the people's behavior, that is banned. Okay, now predictive policing, emotion recognition system in the school and workplaces, they are also banned. If there is a workplace, let's say if I am working in a company and my boss get to know about my feelings for her or feelings for him. Okay, let's say if I am very angry with my boss. Okay, in that regard, there can be an effect on my performance, or you can say my promotions, you can say. So if there is some system which can recognize the emotions of their worker, that can be detrimental for that worker as well as the work culture in that particular you can say system. Okay, so here you can predictive policing, emotion recognition system in the school as well as workplace. Obviously, if when we are talking about the workplace, similar case can be for in the school as well. Okay, if you don't, if you haven't done your homework and your AI tool can recognize that you haven't done your homework, that can be detrimental for you. Okay, now on generative platforms, or third is police scanning faces in public using remote biometric identification with exception. Okay, so face scannings, okay, or you can say surveillance, as a matter of fact, this surveillance using the AI tool is banned, but in the exceptional cases like you can say kidnapping, or let's say some kind of terrorism related activities, that can be done. Okay, now other than that, there are some other other tools, as I told you, which pose some limited risk, which can be allowed. Okay, now other banned use include police scanning, which we have already discussed. Early draft focus on AI systems carrying out narrowly limited tasks like scanning resume and job applications. Okay, so when it was in the earlier phase, when it was this law was in the start, or when they were discussing it, they thought that AI tool is only for the scrutiny, or you can say some job application can be you can say ki this job application can be scanned for limited use, that AI can be allowed. Okay, but the thing is, with the time, there were very important developments like generative AI has come. Okay, generative AI, when we are talking about, these are AI tools which can generate on its own, let's say some kind of content, some kind of images. Now we have some AI tools which are even capable of generating videos. Okay, you can give them the prompts and they can generate a video of up to 1 minute. Okay, we have discussed about it in the last class, in the previous lectures as well. Okay, so in that case of generated AIs, you can say on generative platforms, general purpose AI models will provide detailed summary of the media and data on the internet they have used. Okay, so basically, if there is a generative platform, they will provide you the details of the data or the input they have used to come up with the particular product. Okay, or you can say the content they have developed, they have to mention the you can say data they have used on the internet. That is one thing. Second thing is AI generated deep fakes. Now deep fakes are very crucial for us, because these are posing a kind of threat. Misinformation, disinformation, all these things are being spread using the deep fakes. So these deep fakes, picture, videos, audios of existing people or places, event must be labeled. If there is a picture which is deep faked, so AI technology, AI tool should have some kind of you can say watermark which can be attached to it, which says that it is artificially generated and it is fake. Okay, so that is another thing. Extra scrutiny for the most powerful. Okay, so there is an extra scrutiny for the most powerful or the biggest AI models that pose systematic risks, which includes OpenAI's ChatGPT 4 and Google's Gemini. Okay, so these are two names which you can remember, that is ChatGPT 4 and Google's Gemini. Okay, so for them there is extra scrutiny, because I told you if risk is high, so these are some powerful tools which can pose you a systematic risk, and that is why there is the extra scrutiny for that. Okay, so now this is about this particular law. So I would suggest that you don't go for further details, just this particular table or this particular picture here would be sufficient for you when they are talking about the European AI law. Okay, and such things can be used in your answer writing when we are talking about any questions which is related to AI. That can be a model law for India as well. Okay, now moving further to the next article. Hold on. Okay, so one nation, one poll report likely today in 8 volumes, no German model. So basically, you don't have to know much about this German model, but the thing is, we will discuss it for our discussion point of view. Second thing is one nation, one poll report. Now you know that there was this high level committee which was formed under our former president Ramnath Kovindji. Okay, so basically now they will be submitting their report today to our president. This report is of nearly 8 volumes, nearly you can say 18,000 pages. Okay, and this report is targeted, or you can say the job of this report was to tell that what should be procedure which can be involved or which can be used to go for a simultaneous election. Okay, so they did not talk about the feasibility of it. It is assumed that it is feasible and we have to implement it. How to implement was the question in front of this particular committee. Okay, so this committee has come up with their own report, and there are high chances that they will submit it today. This committee has some kind of term of references, or you can say conditions on which they have to work. There are some questions which was raised, and all these things were mentioned in front. All these things were there in front of the committee, and they have scrutinized in their powers. Now, the high level committee set up by the government to draw a roadmap for holding simultaneous elections is expected to submit 8-volume report running into 18,000 pages to President Draupadi Murmu on Thursday. Okay, so now it is chaired by President Ramnath Kovind to recommend a concrete model for one nation, one election. So that is a factual thing. You can remember that. Now they have not opted for the German model of constructive vote of no confidence. Okay, so when we are talking about the existing people who are there, who has to go out of the, you can say their particular seat or their particular office right now, so that the elections can be made simultaneously. Let's say if there is a state which has a term which is left of like 2 or 3 years now. Okay, so they have to go out of their office so that new assembly can be that new assembly can come into picture. Okay, when we are talking about the simultaneous elections, so we need to make sure that everywhere in the country elections are done on the same pattern, same date, or in the same timeline. Okay, so for that they have thought of this German model. German model is that where a no confidence motion against the incumbent can be brought if there is a positive vote of confidence in the case of successor. Okay, so in the German model, what happens if you want to remove a person, or if there is a person who is potential, who has the potential to become or to held that particular office, so you can come up with a no confidence vote to the incumbent officer, and that person can be removed, and the successor who has the positive confidence, that can be installed to the office. Okay, but the thing is, this particular model was rejected by this committee. They are saying that this is against the democracy. Okay, so as a matter of fact, if you want to remember, just remember that the constructive vote of confidence is basically the German model. Okay, constructive vote of confidence wherein successor has the confidence and the incumbent can be thrown out of the you can say setup by a no confidence motion. Okay, so even Law Commission in 2018 they have proposed this. Okay, they have recommended this when we are talking about the one nation one elections. They have recommended it, but this particular committee they have said that they are not interested in that. Okay, now they have invited comments from public. They have talked with various stakeholders like from the industry, from the they have even wanted to meet election commissioner, but they were not available. That is why they have sent a written letter. But ultimately they have talked to all the stakeholders, be it opposition parties, various state assemblies, state regional parties, etc. So they have talked about all of them, and then they have asked for the comments from the public as well. Okay, and it was seen that nearly 80% of the comment, nearly 81% of the responses were in favor of one nation one election. Okay, now the committee also examined the macroeconomic impact of the simultaneous elections. Yesterday we have talked about this report which has been submitted by our former chairman of Finance Commission, that was N.K. Singh. Okay, so that report was dealing with the macroeconomic impact of the simultaneous elections, which we have seen that, and that report was kind of positive in nature. They have said that these particular you can say simultaneous elections will work in favor. It will help the GDP by 1 to 1.5%. Okay, now as well as the implications on the crime rate, education outcomes. This particular thing was also covered in that particular report. We have talked about it in yesterday's lecture. Okay, so the Union Law Ministry has appointed the committee in September 2023 to make recommendations for the holding simultaneous elections of the Lok Sabha, state assemblies, municipalities, and the panchayats. Okay, so all of these bodies, be it Lok Sabha, be it your state assemblies or local bodies, all these bodies will see a simultaneous election in a one particular time frame. Okay. Now, apart from the COVID committee includes Home Minister Amit Shah, former leader of opposition of Rajya Sabha Ghulam Nabi Azad, and former Finance Commission chairperson, that is N.K. Singh, former Lok Sabha Secretary General, that is Subhash Shi Kashyap, senior advocate Harish Salve, former chief Vigilance Commissioner, that is Sanjay Kothari. You don't have to remember the name, just know that they have taken all these people. Even there are person from the opposition. Then there was this person, that is Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. He was leader of the Congress in the Lok Sabha, but he has rejected to be part of it. Okay, so this committee was constituted in a way that they will include all of these people, all of the stakeholders. Okay. Now, the committee was asked to suggest specific amendments to the Constitution, Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951, the rules framed under them. So, basically, the job of the committee was the implementation of the simultaneous elections, how that will be done. Okay. So, in the in the way or in the matter where we are trying, in the manner we are, when we are trying to implement these particular simultaneous elections or the one nation one election, we need to make sure that all the constitutional provisions should be amended to in that regard, so that there is no further legal challenge which can be posed. Okay. So, basically, there should be an amendments to the constitution, there should be amendments to the Representation of People Act 1950 as well as 1951, and then there are certain rules which are made out of these legislations, so that must be, you can say, amended. Okay. So, this committee was to look into that matter as well. Okay. Whether any amendment to the constitution would require to be ratified by the states. There was another thing, when we are talking about the constitutional amendments, there are various ways in which constitutional amendments can be done. When we are talking about the federal structure, when some kind of amendment which is touching the federal structure, at that particular point of time you need to take ratification by the states as well. Okay. There are certain matters on which ratification of 50% of the states is also necessary. Okay. So, in that case, this committee was to scrutinize that whether their ratification is required in that case or not. Okay. Now, next is analyze and recommend possible solution in scenario of simultaneous elections emerging out of hung house. Okay. So, if there is a scenario where there is a hung house, okay, no particular party get a majority, in that case what will happen? Adoption of no confidence motion or defection. In the meanwhile, if there is a state assembly which is going for the no confidence motion, because you know that before 1967 we had one nation one election, or you can say simultaneous election. Okay. But because of the various situations which were arising in a particular state, because of which there was a no confidence motion, or you can say there was a president's rule, because of which that timeline was broken. Okay. So, what if that happens now as well? So, what can be the procedure for that? Okay. Any such other event, and suggest a framework for synchronization of the elections, and specifically suggest the phases, time frame within which the simultaneous elections may be held. Okay. So, all these things are basically for this particular panel to scrutinize, and we will see what they have come up with, what is the solution which they have come up with in the today's report, which we will be discussing tomorrow mostly. Okay. It also looked into the logistics of the holding simultaneous elections, modalities for a common electoral roll and voter IDs. Okay. So, these things are to be discussed by this particular committee, these things are to be scrutinized by this committee, and we will be keeping a track on the report when it is in the public domain. Okay. Now, moving further, around the world there are two more articles for us to discuss, that is, weapon exist in order to use them. Putin warns West again, Russia ready for nuke war if sovereignty threatened. Okay. So, basically in an interview, President Putin has said that if the need be, they can also go for the nuclear war. But he has also said that there is no case of nuclear war yet. Okay. As of now, there is no condition which is calling for the nuclear war, but if West comes in and interfere in the Ukraine war, then they might go for it. Okay. Other than that, also there is one thing they have said, that if West is employing their or deploying their troops in the Ukraine or in any territory which is of Russia, then they will go for a nuke war. Okay. Now, the thing is, they are saying that every territory which has been captured by Russia of Ukraine, let's say nearly 1/5 of the Ukraine's territory is under Russia's control right now. They have you can say made some aggression inside Ukraine, and then they have captured the territory. They are saying that now that territory belongs to Russia. Now, if you or any Western countries which is coming and deploying troops in that particular part also, that is a direct attack on the sovereignty of Russia. Okay, so in that case, there are chances that there might be a nuclear war, but the thing is that these are just talks mostly. Another issue here is that when we are talking about the nuclear doctrine, that is Kremlin's nuclear doctrine, which Russia is using. So, set out the conditions under which it would use such a weapon. Russia would use such a weapon, that is nuclear weapon. So, there are some particular conditions that broadly a response to an attack using nuclear. If a country is attacking on Russia using a nuclear war, then they can use their nuclear weapon. Second is, or any kind of other mass destruction weapon. Okay, so that is also justified. Use of conventional weapon against Russia when the very existence of the state is put under threat. Okay, so even in case of a conventional war, when the sovereignty or the existence of Russia is threatened, in that case also they can go for a nuclear attack. Okay, so that is Kremlin's nuclear doctrine. You should remember this particular word. Okay, so other than that, they have said that weapons exist in order to use them. Okay, so it is a clear indication that he won't hesitate to use nuclear weapon if West is interfering too much in the Ukraine war. Okay, so that is this article. Now, for your own read, there is this article which is related to your Pi Day. Okay, so today's date is 14th of March. Okay, or you can say that in our other style, you can say March 3rd, that is 3 by 14, or you can say 3.14. So, value of pi is basically 3.14 and so on. So, that is why this article was there, and I would suggest that you go through this particular article. Okay, and they have also traced the history of this particular number, that is pi. Okay, that generally we say that is 22 by 7. Okay, so you can go through this article. If you get any kind of factual information out of it, please note it down. Okay, other than that, I don't think it would be of much importance, but just go through it. Okay, now last part, from the newspaper, you know that in newspaper there are various advertisement of the government. Recently, you know that there are elections, so there will be various pages which are using advertisement on the. In today's Indian Express, which is Delhi edition, so there are nearly 37 pages, and out of which I could extract only 4 to 5 important news articles. Other than that, all those 37 pages, or you can say nearly 15 pages of today's newspaper were advertisement only. Okay, so out of those advertisements, there are certain things which has been coming again and again, like PM Vishwakarma scheme. Okay, so I would want you to go through this particular infographic. Okay, other than that, there was this scheme Pradhan Kisan Samman Nidhi. You know that there was this provision wherein Kisans will be given 6,000 rupees per year in 3 installments. Okay, so these 2 schemes becomes important for you because they have been in the discourse. So just go through these schemes. Okay, now moving to the next part, that is your practice question for prelims. Which organization typically releases the multidimensional poverty index reported in India? Okay, or reported in India. Options are World Bank, B United Nations Development Program, that is UNDP, C Niti Aayog, D Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. Okay, with that, I would like to take your leave. I will see you tomorrow. Till then, have a good day. Thank you. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel.